Hi again, Rampage fans. Welcome to another edition of Views from the Press Box, our video blog posted online throughout the summer on Rampage.com. On this week's show, we're going to be previewing and breaking down the American Hockey League Calder Cup Finals between the Hershey Bears and the inaugural Texas Stars. We'll also be talking about AHL coaching vacancies and the coaching carousel around the league this offseason as well. So enjoy the show. Let's get started. So it may be June, and the weather outside may be getting a little hot and a little frightful, but you know what? We're still playing hockey. And this week, the American Hockey League Calder Cup Finals will begin as the Hershey Bears will take on the Texas Stars in a best-of-7 series for the right to hoist the Calder Cup at the end of the American Hockey League season. Now, for those who haven't been paying attention to the Hershey Bears from all the way down here in Texas, they've had an amazing season, quite a magical ride for a team that is now returning to the finals for the fourth time in 5 years and making overall their 22nd appearance in the Calder Cup Finals. That's an AHL record. But let's take a look at Hershey and break them down. They won 60 games in the regular season this year. First team in the American Hockey League to win 60 games in a regular season. Of those 60 wins, 34 of them came at home at the Giants Center. That's another AHL record. This team was just absolutely offensively unbelievable. They were an offensive juggernaut throughout the year, paced by the American Hockey League's MVP, Keith McCoy, who had a wonderful breakout season, 35 goals, 71 assists, and 106 points to win the American Hockey League scoring crown. Right behind him, though, was Alexander Giroux, who posted a 50-goal season for the second straight year. He finished with 103 points. And then behind him, you've got Andrew Gordon, the third-year pro out of St. Cloud State University. He led the American Hockey League with 19 power play goals. So it's top to bottom an offensive juggernaut when you talk about the Hershey Bears. As a team overall, the Bears averaged 4.28 goals per game. They were nearly a goal per game better than the next closest offensive team in the American Hockey League. But defensively, they were just as solid, giving up less than 2.5 goals per game. So what have the Bears done in the playoffs? Well, they've beaten Bridgeport, Albany, and Manchester to get to the Calder Cup Finals. They're 12-3 in the postseason. What a lot of people don't know is that it's been quite a ride for them. They've had 9 third-period comebacks this year in the Calder Cup playoffs, and on top of that, they've played an American Hockey League record 7 playoff overtime games. So it certainly has not been an easy ride for the Bears, even though they're 12-3 in the playoffs so far. Hershey is 8-0 at home at the Giants Center, 4-3 on the road, and we talked about their penchant for a comeback. They're 5-1 in the playoffs this year when trailing after the first period, and 5-2 when trailing after the second period in the playoffs this year. Just to put that in perspective, the Rampage this season only won twice all season when trailing after 40 minutes of play. Individually, Chris Bork, who is the son of NHL Hall of Famer Raymond Bork, leads the Bears with 7 goals and 23 points in the playoffs. But right behind him, you've got McCoy and Giroux. McCoy has got 18 assists and 19 points in the playoffs, and Giroux's got 12 goals and 21 points. In between the pipes, Michael Neubreth, the former first-round draft pick of the Washington Capitals, is 10-2 in the playoffs. He's got a 2.13 goals against average. And just to talk about how good McCoy and Giroux have been over the last 2 seasons for Hershey, combined they've scored 203 goals, 290 assists, and 493 points in Hershey's 197 regular season and playoff games over the last 2 years. That is certainly unbelievable and something to speak words about. Now, what about the Texas Stars? Well, we saw them a lot 12 times down this year here in San Antonio, and we know they're a team that's marked by their defense. And, of course, in the regular season, they were amongst the best defensive teams in the American Hockey League, averaging 2.48 goals against per game. Brett Cron, the former Rampage goalie, was the one who backstopped them to several of those wins, 17-4 in 22 games with 5 shutouts. But we know about the Stars' defense. Offense has always been the question, but they kind of came on a little bit late during the season. Aaron Gagnon had a nice year, 27 goals and 58 points to finish as the Stars' leading scorer. Now, Texas in the playoffs has, like Hershey, had quite a ride. They've won 2 Game 7s on the road in the path of beating Rockford, Chicago, and Hamilton. Now to get to this point, they're 6-2 at home 6-2 at home during the playoffs, 6-4 on the road. We talked about Hershey's penchant for coming back in games in the playoffs this year. Well, when Texas has gone ahead, they've been able to close the door on their opponents. They're 5-0 when leading after the first period and 6-0 when leading after 2 periods. But maybe the biggest difference for the Stars and the reason that they're in the Calder Cup Finals has been the addition of Calder Nominee of the Year, which is given to the NHL's top rookie, Jamie Benn. Benn, who came down from the Dallas Stars, leads the American Hockey League in playoff scoring. He's got 14 goals, including 4 game winners, and 24 points during this year's playoffs. No other Stars player has more than 14 points. No other Stars forward, we should say, has more than 14 points in the playoffs so far. Brett Krantz started the playoffs 7-3. He suffered a concussion injury in the series against Chicago. Since then, Matt Climie has come on. He's gone 5-3 in the 8 games since Kron's injury. So what are the keys to this series? Well, it's a typical offense versus defense. We know Hershey's going to score goals. They've been doing it all season. The question is, can Texas hold them to 3 goals or less? If they do that, they have a pretty good shot of staying in the series. But if Hershey is scoring 4 or 5 goals a game, it's going to make it awfully tough for Texas to win. The other big key is whether or not Texas can win on the road. Now, Texas, as the lower seed, is only going to have 3 home games. Hershey will have 4. The Hershey Bears, we told you, are 8-0 at home during the playoffs, but they've won 13 straight games at the Giants Center and haven't lost there since March 21st. So if Texas is going to win the series, they're going to have to win at least 1 game in Hershey. Special teams is going to be a huge key in these playoffs, too. Both teams, Texas and Hershey, are above 20% on the power play. But keep this in mind, the Stars have given up an AHL high 19 power play goals this year during the playoffs. And that's really a far cry from where they were in the regular season, where Texas was a top 5 penalty kill team throughout the course of the year. And the other key, can either goalie, whether it's Neuwirth for Hershey or Climie for the Stars, can they steal a game? We saw Climie do it in Game 6 against Hamilton. He had 51 saves. Question is, can he do it again? So what's my prediction? Well, as much as I want to give Lone Star State pride, I got to go with the Hershey Bears. Too much offense, and quite frankly, I just don't think the Stars are going to be able to compete in a 7-game series, but I have it going 6. I think the Hershey Bears are going to win it in 6 games. Some other news around the American Hockey League is oftentimes you get coaching changes throughout the course of the offseason, and there's a lot of coaching vacancies right now in the American Hockey League. 5 AHL teams are currently without a head coach, including the Houston Aeros, the Norfolk Admirals, the Peoria Rivermen, the Rochester Amerks, and the Springfield Falcons. All 5 teams looking for new head coaches. One team that will not be looking for a new head coach is the Syracuse Crunch. Their new parent club, the Anaheim Ducks, just announcing a couple of weeks ago that they've hired former Saskatoon Blades head coach Mark Pollock. He'll lead the Syracuse Crunch next year in the first year of the Syracuse-Anaheim affiliation. And there could be a few more potential vacancies in the American Hockey League, as Hamilton's Guy Boucher, Manitoba's Scott Arniel, and Portland's Kevin Dineen have all been mentioned for possible NHL jobs. There's NHL openings in Columbus and in other places right now where both those guys have come up for possible job interviews and job replacements. So we'll see how the American Hockey League coaching carousel goes on throughout the course of the summer. That's going to do it for this edition of Views from the Press Box. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks. For SARampage.com, I'm Dan Weiss.